Mallory herself was a competitive swimmer before she was paralyzed from the waist down. That happened during her senior year at high school near St. Paul, Minnesota. She was in the hospital when a routine treatment for back pain went wrong. And just when she was beginning to accept she'd never walk again, her sister heard about a meet nearby where Paralympic swimmers would be competing.
I had just gotten out of the hospital, weeks before, and I was figuring out what this all meant for me. During the bench test, it's like a physical therapy assessment. You're asked, no matter what your function level is, to attempt to move every different muscle group in all these different positions. That whole process has always been very, very hard on me because when they get to the legs, you're literally laying on a bench, and there's moments where they'll pick your leg up and they will release it and drop it and just see how it reacts. And as a paraplegic, it's kind of one of those things where I know that my legs don't work, but seeing how my body reacts when someone drops my legs from being up in the air like that and seeing them just kind of flail around like jello is such an emotional and mental mind game. I thought of all the things that my coach told me the past 4 years, and I tried to do just that. And I remember hitting the wall, and at the games, there's lights on the blocks. If you win, you get 1 light, silver, 2 lights, bronze, 3 lights, and anything after that, there's no lights. I saw the block, and I saw 1 light go off.
At no time in the race did the announcer even mention Mallory's name. That's how quickly she ripped through the other swimmers to win the gold medal.
Paralympic champion, representing the United States of America, Mallory Weggemann.
The gold medalist from lane 2, Mallory Weggemann, qualifying in 32.01, storming home in 31.13.
Night of Champions. We have with us here Mallory Weggemann. Mallory's broken 16 world records, 34 American records. She's a 3-time USA Disabled Swimmer of the Year. She won an ESPY Award in 2011 and in 2012 at the London Paralympics. She won gold in the 50-meter freestyle. We're blessed to have her with us here tonight. Mallory, why don't you tell us how you're feeling tonight? So Mallory, you competed in the 2012 London Paralympics, and you were pumped up because you had the first rank going into 2012 with 9 different events that you were kind of positioned to take home gold, and then all of a sudden, right before opening ceremonies, something happened. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So in the Paralympic Games, there's classification, and that determines where we compete, since obviously not every disability is the same. So I competed for 4 years as a 7. That was my classification. And about an hour before opening ceremonies, I found out that I had been reclassified and moved up a class, which meant I was now competing against people who had more physical ability than I did. I had never raced my competitors at all in my athletic career. It changed my event schedule, it changed everything, and all of a sudden, I was no longer #1 in the world in all of my events. I was this unknown girl that no one had raced before.
Wow. So how did that turn out? Tell us a little bit of, you were expecting to really go out and just take home 9 golds, and then things kind of changed a little bit. How did that turn out for you?
For 4 years I trained and I put my sights on gold, and then as it got closer and 2010 Worlds came around, I won 8 golds, 1 silver. I was in a position to win 9 gold medals in London, and it would have made history. And I was, I'd done everything I needed to do, talk about preparation and everything. And when that changed, I was fearful that I would not only disappoint myself, but I was afraid to make a fool of myself. And after the reclassification, I kind of had to sit there and rethink things, and I decided ultimately that I was still in London. I was still on Team USA, and I still had a chance to go out and win a gold medal. And that was my goal, and that's what I went out and tried to do. So fast forward 4 days, the 50-meter freestyle came, and I knew it was my best chance. And I went in that morning, and I was just psyched to race. I was so excited. I had the energy going. My teammates were behind me, and not only were my teammates behind me, at that point the world was behind me, because everyone worldwide was as shocked as I was that I was competing in this class. And one of my teammates came up to me right before I swam my 50 freestyle, leaned down and whispered into my ear, "Go shock the world." And in that moment I just got chills, and I went out and I was in lane 2. I wasn't even supposed to medal at all. And at the 25-meter mark, I was in 6th place. And somewhere in that last 25 meters, everything came together. And I got to bring home this little guy right here.
All right. Can I hold on to it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when she says little guy, she's talking about little guy, by the way. This is not little, and it doesn't feel little. This thing is heavy. So this is what a gold feels like, huh?
That's what a gold feels like.
This is my first time holding a gold medal.
Yeah,
wow, this is awesome.
It's a nice little accessory, For us girls out there, we like our accessories.
Well, Mallory, we're so proud that you went out and you did that, you competed. You could have made excuses, right? You could have made excuses like, well, I was never categorized to be with these swimmers. They're in a different class. But from what it sounds like to me is excuse wasn't even in your mindset.
No. I did have fear, though. Okay. And we're here and we're talking about fear, and I was terrified. I, at that point, had no idea of what I was supposed to do. I'd been reclassified, everything had changed, everything I had prepared for had changed, so I didn't feel prepared. I didn't really know what was next. It was kind of the uncertainty, and I had a lot of time, and by a lot I mean I had a couple days at least to digest it and think about it, and it was one of those things where I have the faith that everything happens for a reason, and I knew that from my past and from things that had happened in my life previously, that, God has a plan for us. And apparently 9 and 9 was not the plan this time around.
Wow. So you're 23 years old.
Yes.
And you got a big smile on your face. And from the moment I first talked to you on the phone and I got a chance to see you in person today, I'm looking at you and I see someone who's grateful for life and grateful for what God's given you. But I want to just rewind a little bit, because we're talking about 2012 and the Paralympics in London and all the great things that have come. But something happened in 2008, and I know there's a lot of students who are here. There's a lot of youth here today that have been through some pretty rough things in their lives. And can you share with us a little bit what happened in 2008?
In 2008, I was 18 years old. I had just graduated high school. I graduated high school June of 2007, and it was January 21st of 2008 to be exact, and I was experiencing quite a bit of back pain as a complication from shingles. Long story short, they decided to do epidural injections to help treat the back pain. On January 21st, it was Martin Luther King Day, I went in to receive my 3rd and final epidural injection, and I never walked out. I was 18, it was 2 months before my 19th birthday, and I was left paralyzed. No feeling or movement from my waist down. And at that point in time in my life, there may be some seniors out there in high school who are looking at what they're doing next, and I was that person. I was looking at moving out for the first time, going to college, and figuring out kind of who I am outside of living at home with mom and dad. And then I added a wheelchair to it. and I had no idea what was in front of me. I was shared the statistics that statistically for someone injured later in their life with a spinal cord injury, the stats are you'll never graduate college, you'll never have a long-term relationship or get married, you'll never have a family of your own, you'll never hold a steady full-time job, depression will settle in. I mean, people just hammered me with all the things that now this is what my life was supposed to look like. And at 18, that opens your eyes, and I didn't want that for my life. I wanted that. I wanted so much more for my life. And I didn't want to allow this to stop me. I was paralyzed and I lost my legs, but I didn't lose the ability to live. And that's kind of the way I saw it.
So I know some of you out here have been through some pretty rough things before, right? And I had a chance to kind of hear your story a little bit. And so this took place in January, right, of 2008.
Yes.
And then I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like 3 months later, you're back in the pool.
Yes.
That's crazy.
A little bit.
Tell us, how could you get back into the pool with these goals in mind after something like that?
After I was paralyzed, I was a lifelong swimmer my entire life, so it makes it a little bit easier, right? But when I was paralyzed, everyone told me all the things I would never do. We all have doubters, we all have naysayers, we all have people who are going to put boundaries up and say, no, that's not for you, right? And I'm a fairly competitive person, so when someone says that, what's going through my head. Well, of course I'm going to go do it now, just because you said I can't do it. So, so that was my mindset. And when I was told all these things I would never do, I wanted to find a way to push that and just push the envelope and see how far I could take my body. The world looks at me, I'm in a wheelchair, and they see me as disabled. And in my eyes, I can do every single thing that all of you do. I just, have to do some of it a little bit differently. And, so when I got back in the pool, that was me finding not only my way to get back to my old life, but finding my way to move forward and push myself and kind of prove to not only myself but others that there's so much more life out there for me, and this wheelchair isn't going to confine me.
So our theme this year is no fear, and can you just tell us tonight, what are some fears that you personally have had to overcome? I mean, we can guess just from hearing a little bit of your story, but are there other fears that personally you've had to overcome?
Boy, I'm with Brian on this one. We don't have enough time. We all have fear. We have fear every day in certain things when we get up in the morning, and for me, I could list a long list of things. For instance, when I was paralyzed, the fear of the unknown. I think for me, that's one of my biggest fears. When you go into that territory of the unknown and it's new and you don't know what to expect, and that can be, you're kind of going in blind, and that can be fearful. And when I was paralyzed, I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what this meant for my life moving forward. I would have never guessed in a million years I would be sitting up here sharing this kind of a story with you guys. But, at the end of the day, everything does happen for a reason. And I do believe that God has a plan for all of us. And, we have to find ways to overcome that fear. And it's not necessarily easy, but if you don't allow yourself to push past it, it can be paralyzing, and not in the actual literal sense. Wow. And that's something that I realized. I realized that the fear moving forward would be more paralyzing for me than my actual wheelchair. And I had to find a way to push past that. And, luckily I have a very strong support group in my family, and I have a very strong, faith-based support group, which has been fantastic. And when I was in the hospital, my mom gave me a bracelet, and it was Isaiah 41:13. I will always hold you in the palm of my hand. And I wore that thing every single day until I don't remember when I actually took it off, probably when I started swimming again, and I don't wear jewelry. And I wore it all through rehab, and it was, that back and forth battle, but at the end of the day, I think that's what kind of helped me overcome that fear.
That's awesome. Well, if there was one more thing you could share with us tonight that you would like to just leave with us, leave with some of our kids here and everyone that's in attendance, what would you like to share with us?
You know, I think the biggest thing is, and I say it all the time, but I have a disability. I mean, I'm sitting in a wheelchair, it's kind of obvious, but I think it's important for everyone to realize that we all have disabilities. Every single one of you has something that will or can hold you back in life if you let it. And that's something that we all have to internally overcome on our own. And it's going to be different from the person sitting next to you, and it may not be obvious, but we all have a story. We all have something that brought us to this room, brought us to where we're sitting, and you know, it's okay to recognize that you have, you know, a disability in life. You just have to find a way to push past it and not let it consume you. And I think that's the biggest thing I would challenge, you know, everyone, is to internally reflect and, you know, kind of challenge yourself to push past that and use yourself obviously as a motivator, but use your family, your friends, and your faith as something to help you push past those things in life.
Come on, let's give it up for Mallory Weggemann, everybody!
Thank you.
And keep an eye out for her because she's not done yet. She's still training, and we're going to see her do a bunch of amazing things, and she's going to continue living this example that she shared with you, knowing that God has a plan for every single thing that we go through. Let's give it up for her one more time.